All right, well, good morning. We're gonna get started here. Hopefully the rest of the class will get here shortly. So this is the last class, essentially. You know, this class basically ends on Friday. This is the last live session we're gonna have. If you're a senior, all of your classes essentially end on Friday. If you are a junior, you technically have one more week after this, but for all intents and purposes, this class is over basically today for you guys. AP exam is tomorrow. Again, you guys need to complete the exam setup. If you do not do it today, then you will not be able to test tomorrow. That's just the way that it is. Please complete the exam setup. If you have not taken any other AP exams yet this year, you need to complete the practice exam or the practice test within the app first. If you do not complete the practice test first, like in the app demo and stuff like that, it will not allow you to complete the exam setup. It will not even let you see your upcoming exams. Right, so you must do that step first, then your upcoming exams will show up, then you can complete exam setup. And this is why over the last month and a half, I've been trying to get you guys to do these things. So we have to complete exam setup. We're gonna look at this real quick. This class period has the highest number of students who have failed to complete the exam setup so far. So I have a list. I apologize if your name is on the list. This is all the students from first period who have not yet completed the exam setup and are registered to take the AP exam tomorrow. If you want to cancel the exam, too bad. It's too late. You've waited too long. You either got to take it or just fail to show up and then possibly get charged for the exam. All right. Technically, if you wanted to cancel, you needed to do that by like last week. You had up until I think Monday to cancel as like a last minute cancellation, but now it is far past that time. So if your name is on this list, it's because you have not yet completed the exam setup, which means you're not yet ready to take the exam tomorrow. Please complete your exam setup. If it is not done by tonight, you will not be able to test tomorrow. All right. So please do that step. All right. Apologize for that. I don't like calling people out, but it's the end of the line here. You guys gotta do that step. All right. All right. Other than that, again, as I said yesterday, grades have all been posted. I've been trying to do grade stuff as it comes in throughout the days here so that everyone's grades are updated. You know, as best as I can. So the grade in Canvas, it will be your most up-to-date grade as of right now, unless you haven't done anything this week, then Canvas and Synergy should be the same. If you are not passing this class, you need to complete the multiple choice assessments. You don't need to get all the points, you don't need to do perfect on it, but you need to get more than 0. All right, because as of right now, all the multiple choice assessments you have not completed are in as 0s because you didn't do them. All right, so the best thing you can do if you're trying to get outside of that F range and at least get credit for taking this course, do some of the multiple choice assessments, go through and guess on them. I don't care. Get some points. Do something so that you get credit for being in this class. Okay, you have until Friday. All right, Friday at the end of the school day. That's when I have to submit grades for all seniors. If you're a junior, you get a little bit more time. There's not very many juniors in this course. All right, most of you are seniors. You have until the end of the school day on Friday. That's it. That's the cutoff. I have to submit grades. All right, are there any questions about grades? All right. So then what we're going to do today, we're going to do a little bit more with reviewing for the AP exam. And to do that, we're actually going to do a Kahoot today. I didn't write this one. I found it because honestly, I didn't have time to make one. So we're going to try this, see how it goes, and we'll go from there. So, pardon me. See if I can get this to work. All right. Share that. All right, so you guys should be able to see the shared screen here. That is the Kahoot screen with the game pen. And hopefully this works. So please join the Kahoot so we can do this a little bit of practice. Last bit of review here, and we'll play the game. I've only got about half the class in this so far. Please join the activity and we can play. All right, well, we're gonna get started here. Please, if you have not yet joined, continue working on joining. We're gonna get this thing rolling. If a distribution has data mostly on the left with a few points spread far to the right, it is... Make a selection. Yes, it is skewed to the right, and the mean is greater than the median. Remember, the mean will always get pulled in the direction of the skew. Right? And the direction of the skew is essentially where outliers are most likely to be. Right? All right, Danielle is in the lead. Next question. Which of the following numbers is not part of the empirical rule? And the empirical rule is another name for something that we saw when dealing with normal distributions in the standard normal curve. All right, and yes, 90 is the one that's not part of it. Remember, the empirical rule is a fancy name for the 68, 95, 99, 7 rule, right? Saying that 68% of our data is contained within 1 standard deviation of the mean, right? 95% is within 2, and approximately 99.7% is within 3 standard deviations. Right, so 90 is the one that does not fit. Gabriel pulls into the lead. Next. Which type of plot best determines whether or not a linear model is appropriate? All right, so no one got the right answer here. This is a residual plot. This is actually from the chapter 3 that we just, most recent chapter we saw. The residual plot, remember plots, all of the points from a scatter plot on a plot where a horizontal line represents the line of best fit, right? And then each point is plotted either positively or negatively up or above or below that line, showing that we should have something that doesn't have a pattern, right? If it doesn't have a recognizable pattern, then that's good, right? It shouldn't look like a curve when we plot those points. And we shouldn't see any points that are abnormally far away from that horizontal line. That's the residual plot. All right, as long as we don't see that pattern and things aren't wacky, a line is probably a good model. All right, the normal probability plot, that's not it. What's this other one? I can't read it. Stem and leaf plot. So the stem and leaf plot is the way that we can almost make like a pseudo dot plot, where we write the stem of each number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the other numbers that go with it, and we branch them all out. We saw it in chapter 1, way early on. And of course, a box plot helps us see the 5-number summary. And we had no movement. Which of the following is an example of a qualitative data? Qualitative is different than quantitative. All right, so zip code is a qualitative data. It's an example of qualitative data. The other three would all be quantitative. Right, they are things that would make sense to take an average of. It does not make sense to make an average of a zip code. So it is qualitative or categorical. Right, we can kind of use those terms are very similar as far as qualitative and categorical. All right, we have a little bit of movement there. Next question. Which of the following is resistant? That means resistant to outliers. All right, and that is the median and IQR. All right, mean and standard deviation are not resistant to outliers. One extreme value can have major changes to the mean and standard deviation of a data set. All right. Median and range, or mean and range, sorry, is the next one. It's really hard for me to read on that screen. Let's see. Do that. Mean and range. Those don't work because the mean is not resistant and the range is not. If you have an extreme value, that's going to change the range of your data set. All right. And median and range, median is resistant, but range is not. So that leaves median and IQR. So remember that IQR is just that box essentially, or the range between the first quartile and the third quartile. Right? Outliers aren't going to change that range, the IQR. All right, and smiley face moves up to the lead, whomever that may be. Which of the following is part of the 5-number summary? All right, the median. All right, the 5-number summary consists of the minimum, first quartile, median, third quartile, and maximum from our data sets. All right, the mean, mode, and range are not part of that. All right, we do not use the mean when doing a 5-number summary. All right, essentially, the 5-number summary provides locations. Right, the location of the minimum, right, the lowest value. Q1 is the 25th percentile, median is the 50th percentile, Q3 is the 75th percentile, and the maximum is the largest value. Right, so the 5-number summary is measures of location, essentially, within our ordered data. We've got a little bit of movement, but smiley face is still in the lead. What is the formula for finding a residual? All right, excellent. Yes, it is observed minus expected. Again, this goes back to how we make a residual plot. All right, we have our observed values from our set of data minus the expected values. All right, the expected minus observed, expected plus observed, those aren't used anywhere. But Q3 minus Q1, that is the inner quartile range, or IQR. And Miss Stephanie moves up to the lead. All right, which of the following is not a condition for geometric distribution? And geometric distributions are very similar to binomial distributions, save for one difference. Alrighty, and then yes, the fixed number of trials is not a condition for a geometric distribution. Right? The other two possible outcomes, probability of success is the same for each trial and every trial is independent, are all conditions. Those things must be true. All right? The fixed number of trials is necessary for a binomial distribution, right? But for a geometric distribution, we do not have a fixed number of trials. That's kind of the whole point. With a geometric distribution, we're interested in finding out how many trials it takes to get the first success. So we don't know how many trials it's going to take. We're trying to figure that out. With a binomial distribution that has all four of these conditions, we know there's a fixed number of trials every time we run this, experiment. And based on that fixed number of trials, we're trying to figure out what's the probability of a certain number of successes. Okay. Smiley face comes back to the lead. A researcher plans to obtain a random sample of heads of households from each of 23 counties. What kind of sampling is this? Yes, and this is a stratified sample, right, or stratified random sample. Right? This is because before sampling, we are dividing everything into the 23 counties and sampling from each county. Those are strata. All right. It's not a simple random sample because we're not sampling randomly from, the entire population that contains the 23 counties. We're sampling from each county individually. Right. And it's not a cluster sample because in a cluster sample, we would randomly select a certain number of counties from the 23 counties, and everyone in those counties would then participate in the sample. Remember, in a cluster sample, once you separate out your clusters, you pick a cluster and everyone in that cluster is part of the sample. In the stratified sample, random sample, you have your strata, and then you randomly select people from each strata. And this is not a systematic sample. A systematic sample would be like picking the, every third person or something like that, where you get some sort of like algorithm to picking people. All right, and everything holds the same in the top 5. Which of the following is not important in the design of a good experiment? All right, so the one that's unnecessary when designing is replicating the experiment many times. All right, when we talk about replication, that means that we should have a large enough amount of people work like within our study that if it was replicated, we get similar results because we have enough people in our sample. All right, but we don't need to run the experiment many times. That's not necessary for the design of the experiment. We need a large enough, sample size, enough subjects. We need to have randomized assignment, and we need control of the confounding variables. Those are all absolutely needed when designing. Think about if you're replicating the experiment, that means you've already designed the experiment. Which of the following is a parameter? All right, sigma is the parameter. Sigma, which we typically use the notation for, represents standard deviation, but it is the standard deviation of the population. Good morning, Anthony. All right, p hat, that is a sample proportion. X bar is the sample mean, and B is essentially the slope of a linear regression. So sigma is a parameter because parameters go with populations. Which of the following is a statistic? All right, so beta. Beta would be the population slope of a linear regression model. Mu is the population mean. Sigma, and that apparently they're using capital sigma, or sigma is standard deviation. The last option there, SE sub B, is the standard error for B, which would be a sample standard error. And remember, statistics go with samples, parameters go with populations. If all other information for a confidence interval is the same except for the confidence level, which is true of the following? All right, so yes, a 90% confidence interval is narrower than a 95% confidence interval. Because 90% contains less, and it's essentially narrower. All right, it can't be wider. It's not containing, we're not more confident. It's not containing, more stuff, right? The larger the confidence interval, the more values are contained in that interval, which is why we're more confident that it actually contains what we're looking for. Right. Giovanni moves into the top 5. Which of the following is the conditions check for normally, for proportions, for normality, for proportions? All right, so choice B and C is correct. Right. So when dealing with proportions, the check for normality is the large counts condition. Right. In large counts, we need to know that there are at least 10 successes and 10 failures within our sample. All right, and that is what NP greater than 10 and N times 1 minus P greater than 10 is showing for B and C. A, the large sample size is what we check for when dealing with means. Right, that we have a sample size of at least 30, that is for means. What is the formula for the lower cutoff for an outlier as defined by a modified box plot? How can we determine an outlier if we have the 5-number summary? All right, and that is Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR, all right, to find the lower bound for outliers using the IQR 1.5 IQR method. You multiply 1.5 times the interquartile range and subtract that from the first quartile. Anything lower than that is an outlier. The upper bound is taking the third quartile and adding 1.5 times IQR. Anything greater than that value is considered an outlier. This is one of the more common ways to determine an outlier. Another way is to use anything essentially outside 2 standard deviations of the mean. This method is typically a bit more reliable. I got a little bit of movement there. The power of the test would be greatest for which sample size n and significance level alpha? Alrighty, so it is that third option there, n equals 30 and alpha equals 0.05. Right, so remember, the power of a test is essentially the probability of correctly finding evidence for the alternative when the alternative is true. We increase the power of a test by increasing the sample size and increasing the significance level. Right, within these 4 options here, that option has the highest sample size paired up with the highest significance level available within these options. So that's going to give us the highest power. Got a little bit of shifting going on there. In a 4x3 two-way table, the number of degrees of freedom is... What is the degrees of freedom? All right, our degrees of freedom will be 6. All right, remember to calculate the degrees of freedom with a two-way table, which means we're essentially doing a chi-square test. And we have a two-way table of categorical data. It's 1 less than the number of rows times 1 less than the number of columns. Okay, so 4x3 two-way table is a 3 times 2, or 6 degrees of freedom. Because 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 minus 1 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6. And Gabriel takes the lead. Right, and Lizette has the highest answer streak of 4. Given non-empty events A and B, what does it mean when events A and B are mutually exclusive? All right, events A and B do not have any common outcomes. Right, being mutually exclusive means that they both can't happen at the same time, meaning they have nothing in common. And yeah, they both can't happen at the same time. That's it. Mutually exclusive. If one happens, we know the other one didn't. That's keeping up the streak. Which is the correct interpretation of a normal probability plot? Right, and that is approximately linear, so approximately normal. Right, if we do a normal probability plot, which is not the same as a linear regression, if we get a line or something close to a line, we have something that is normal or approximately normal. Right, if we get a perfect line, then that thing is normal. Typically, we're going to get something that's approximately linear or looks mostly linear, and that will be approximately normal. And the last question here, what test would you use to see if there's a relationship between grade point average and SAT score? And this one was mostly a guess. because the linear regression t-test is something I believe we would have seen in chapter 12, as that had to do with regressions and tests having to do with regressions. So if you got that wrong, that's on me, right? So that is where that one rolls, right? And Gabriel was the winner. Good job, Gabriel. Alrighty, are there any questions? Is there anything at all that you guys would like to review? Anything you have questions about? Anything you want more clarification on? Right. Okay, so then finally, all right, that's really all that I have for you guys today. All right, and just wanted to do a little bit more of a quote unquote fun review that wasn't too stressful. The AP exam is tomorrow for those of you who are choosing to take it. Once again, right? Please, if you are planning on taking the exam, which at this point you do not have time to cancel, right? These are all the people in first period who have not completed exams set up. It needs to be done tonight, at the latest, by tonight. Right? Please, please, please get this done. Otherwise, if you try to log in to take the exam, it's not going to let you. It's going to say tough, too bad. All right, so please complete the exam setup. If this will be the first AP exam you're taking this semester, you need to complete the practice exam first. When I say complete, click through it to get it done. I don't care if you actually do the exercises. It's just a checkbox that will then open up your ability to see your upcoming exams and then complete the exam setup for your upcoming exams. All right, so please get the exam setup completed. Why is things not working for me? There we go. All right. So besides that, this is the last class that we will all have together. Next week, if you're a junior, is finals week. It is all asynchronous. You will not be seeing any of your teachers next week unless they've scheduled that for some reason. Actually, wait, you'll see your 6th period teacher if you're a junior, because we do have the last weekly lesson for your 6th period class on Monday. But that'll be the last time you see any of your teachers. If you're a senior, your classes end on Friday and grades are due on Friday. Right, please keep that in mind. We have to post grades for seniors by the end of the school day on Friday. Right? So if you turn stuff in after school on Friday, your teacher has the right not to grade it. Because we have to post our grades by the end of the school day. Right? If you try to turn stuff in on Saturday, the grading window is closed for seniors. All right, so please plan accordingly if you need to get work completed. All right, other than that, This year has not been the year that we all wanted or anticipated or were hoping for. It's been difficult. It's been challenging. Whatever label you want to give it, it's been that. You know, I want to congratulate Joel on sticking with it, being persistent, you know, demonstrating perseverance here and staying in the course and doing your best. I know that this year in particular, the grades that you've gotten in these classes aren't necessarily a fair representation of who you are as students, or just who you are. And that for many of you, there were lots of things going on outside of your control that contributed to your ability or lack of ability to be successful in school this year. All right. So take this whole year in as what it was. It's an event in time. You know, it drastically affected many of us in many different ways, and that from here going forward, you know, especially for you guys as seniors moving on past high school, you know, hopefully things just continue to improve and get better, and that your experiences get better, you know, outside of this moment in time that was really weird and really not great for everybody. All right. So, you know, to everybody, I hope you have, you know, a great rest of the week. I hope that your finals go well. I hope that the AP exam goes well for you tomorrow. You know, enjoy the senior activities. For those of you who are graduating, enjoy graduation. Enjoy, you know, seeing your friends and your family who are celebrating with you. Have a great summer, and you know, good luck in whatever your future holds for you and what you're going on to do next. You know, and that's it. I hope you guys all take care. And I won't see you again. So take care and have fun. That's all I got, guys. We'll see you maybe around.